So you want to go to Universal and you want to do it the cheapest way possible. I might have some tips for you. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Love Our Life Vlog. Today we're going to do something completely different and we're going to talk about something that you guys have been pushing for us to talk about for a while, and that is 5 tips on how to do Universal on a budget. Now this is coming from someone who currently lives here, but I did not always live here before. I used to live in Tennessee and in the Florida Panhandle, so I've had many different trips to Universal and Walt Disney World like you guys, so I kind of know what I'm doing. Alright, let's get right into it right away. And there's a lot of things that affect your trip that you have to factor into your trip. But the number one thing I believe that you have to factor into your trip is your hotel stay. Where you're going to stay, how much it's going to cost, and how close you're going to be to Universal Orlando. Now there are two sides of this. There are the people who fly in and the people who drive like I used to do. Now I'm not going to say that staying on the resort is your cheaper option. I believe that if you fly in, that is your cheaper option, is to stay at the Universal resorts. Now, during the year, they run special rates, and it's always kind of a thing that you just gotta look on the website and see just exactly how much everything is going to cost, because at certain points in the year, it gets higher, and then certain points it's lower. Now you're probably saying to yourself, it's probably cheaper to stay off-site. And in reality, dollar-wise, yes, it is cheaper to stay off-site. So if you are driving in to Orlando, I would recommend staying off-site. There's a couple of things. Number one, you have your car. Number two, a lot of these cheaper hotels don't require you to pay for parking, and that is a plus as well. On the flip side of that, you have to say, well, if you stay at a resort, then you don't have to pay for parking. But yeah, you do, because you get charged for parking at the resort. So it's kind of like a two-edged sword, you know? The thing is, at the end of the day, I think you have to determine what is better for you and your budget, how it's gonna work for you to be cheaper. I know for us personally, we used to drive. We would never fly, we would just drive. And it would end up being cheaper for us to stay off-site. Now, we would stay in not roach motels. We would stay in some nicer hotels along International Drive. And it just depends on when you go. So, and when we would go, we would only go for 4 to 5 days. We wouldn't be there 11 days and on. But so it's really up to you and your budget and how much you think you can save. Like I said, there's a flip side to both of it, but if you're coming in and you're wanting the Universal experience, you don't want Disney World, you don't want SeaWorld, anything else, I recommend probably staying on site overall, because that way your transportation is taken care of. You can take a bus to the resorts or a boat, depending on which resort you stay at. And also, the best part of it is you don't have to pay money for like an Uber if you are flying in. The worst thing is Ubering from place to place. I actually did a comparison not too long ago just to see how much it would cost to go from Universal to Walt Disney World, and it ended up being like 30 bucks almost. So those drives are really expensive here in Orlando. It's a tourist town. It's gonna be really expensive. Like I said, it's totally up to you and what you are doing. Now, on the flip side of that, of course, we were annual pass holders when we made these trips, so we got free parking. So it's really a thing that just do your research. And point number 2 are your tickets. Now, here is something that we're gonna get a little complicated on. I did some math. I'm gonna try to break this down mathematically for you guys and see how you can save some money doing it this way. So if you are a family of 4 and you are coming down to Universal during a busy time like spring break, if you do a 5-day 2-park ticket, it's going to cost you $1,667 for 4 people. Now that could be 2 adults, 4 adults, two adults, and 2 children, whatever, it's going to cost you around $16.67 for 5 days. Now that is just your ticket price. That does not include parking. That does not include your food. That is just that. Now on the flip side of that, here's something to consider. If you get an annual pass, the preferred pass, which starts at $448 a person. Now you're like, well, hang on a second. That seems a little expensive. But if you do the math on that, it ends up being around $21.50, a little over $400 more than what you would spend on a normal ticket. Now, here's the flip side of that. You get free parking. Also, have the opportunity to come back that whole entire year and not have to pay for your tickets again. And that includes both parks. So at that point, it really depends on your budget and how much you can afford. I understand that sometimes you just want to go on these vacations and cut and dry, bone dry. You want to get it done as cheap as you can. But that is an option to think about. We have an annual pass. We love it. We actually have the Florida resident one, which is a little cheaper. Which I should have mentioned, if you're a Florida resident, you do get a cheaper discount. And number 3 is going to be your food and grocery delivery. Now you're like, what? Grocery delivery? So let me start with that first. The cheapest thing for you to do is obviously go to a grocery store. So if you flew in, you're staying on the resort, and you don't want to go to City Walk and pay those high prices, trust me, they're very, very high. You can always get delivery from a grocery store, including Publix, Target, Walmart, and even Amazon will do it. We have people that have told us that they have experienced that, and it's easy. It's just super easy. So you can get everything you need for the week right there at your hotel. That's the number 1 point of saving money in general, is doing that. Not only are you saving money like that, but also if you take a look, let's just do an example here. If you have a family of 4 and you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, let's just say you go to the Leaky Cauldron for all of those things. Now, a regular breakfast at Leaky Cauldron for an adult is $17.99, and then for a child, it's $12.99. If you times that by 3, that's well over $150 a day, and then times 7, if you're staying 7 days, that's $1,200 something for your entire stay on food. Now, you can not choose to do that, obviously. When we would come down, we would never do that. We would eat at 1 or 2 restaurants a week, and that would be done. The rest of it, we would go and get something at the McDonald's, or we'd make something at the hotel. Just totally depends. Number 1, you're not gonna wanna go to the world's largest McDonald's, that's for sure. Prices there are double what you would pay at a normal McDonald's. Now, yes, it's the world's largest McDonald's. I believe it's on Turkey Lake Drive. But it's not only that, it's crazy busy at that one. You're gonna be there for the longest time ever trying to get your double cheeseburger. I'm telling you. Angie and I went there last time, and she got a quarter pounder meal. I got a 10 nugget meal. And when we were done, we spent $34 at that McDonald's. A couple of days later, we went to a McDonald's that was a little further down the street and paid $20. So it knocked off $14. Same exact meal, knocked off $14. So be aware where you're going to when you do go to restaurants here in Orlando. Stay away from iDrive. Try to make your way over to Millenia if you want to. Yeah, it's a little further away, but it's going to be a lot cheaper there than it would right there. And you can also go down John Young Parkway as well. That's a little cheaper, but right there on International Drive, it's going to get you every time, guaranteed. Number 4 is Freestyle cups. Now, these things will save your life at the park. Why will they save your life? Because you can get refills all day on these things. Now, you're saying, well, you still have to pay the price to activate it. Yes, it's $17.99 now for one of them, $15.99 for 2, and then 3 to 6, it's $13.99 for these. But here's the deal. If you have these, it's only $10 a day after to reactivate these, and you can have soda, water, or Powerade, whatever you want, every 10 minutes of the day while you're there. These are very beneficial and they look cool. This Mardi Gras one is still like one of my favorites. This is the normal one, but you can get all kinds of different ones that they sell seasonally. We have like 4 or 5 of these. But I will say that also you can use this just for water. You can go up to a kiosk or a Freestyle machine and get free water in that. So that is another way that you are saving $3 to $5 every time you go to the parks. For every time that you get thirsty, you're saving that money. So this thing, to me, is one of the most essential things to get, because here in Florida, it gets really hot, really fast, especially during the summer when it gets to 100-something degrees. You definitely need something to cool off. And a major, major benefit of this is what's gonna be really cool. You're gonna love this. You can get ices in these. Yes, that's right. Banana, Coke, cherry Coke, whatever. Well, not cherry Coke, but cherry. You can get all kinds of these, and you can get moose juice and goose juice in this, which I highly recommend because it tastes like sherbet. Yeah, so do it. Do it. These are amazing, and I would not ever go to Universal without it. This is something definitely that Universal has over the mouse down the street, big time. And the last point, I'm not going to keep you very long for this one, is decide when to come. Now, that is the hardest thing. When you're going to come during peak season, tickets are always going to be more expensive. Things are always going to be more expensive. Even parking's more expensive that way. And usually, like, during the slow season, it's like $27, and it can go up. But you're definitely going to want to choose when you come, because hotels are going to be more expensive. Tickets are probably going to be more expensive. It's just going to be insane. So I would suggest, if you can, come during the slow months like January, February, October, November. Well, October's not really. October's more like slower at Disney than it is Universal because of Halloween Horror Nights. But like the beginning of November, somewhere around there, it's kind of like the slower season. So you're definitely going to want to choose that to help you out to get prices a little cheaper. But anyway, that is it for me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. Leave a comment if you want us to do these for the other parks and more details, because I like doing these. These are fun. Anyway, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Hit that like button and the notification bell so you know when our next video is coming out. And remember, the road goes ever on. I'll see you next time.